Wants to be part of
He
this.
wants to be involved.
Yeah, not anymore, apparently.
Not that involved.
Bye, Puck.
Okay, he'll be back.
He only wants to be involved if you don't want him to be involved.
That's
That's
it.
about
He'll be
right.
back.
That's about right.
Oh, he's eating. That's what's going on. He's like, I have to have food. I just
Okay.
lifted my knee and he shot off.
It's about right. It's
I'm
about
getting
right.
a poodle next time.
Hey, I know a person
Anyway.
who you can get a poodle from right now. They have poodle puppies.
Oh, no. No, don't tell me that. No. It's dangerous.
Next episode, like 5 poodles just
5 dogs.
sitting like parrots on your
I
shoulder.
I can't be potty training puppies right now. Okay, I can't.
Welcome to the Discomfort Zone. We are the Casual Fanatics. I am Paul Stadden. That is Sydnee Johnson, and that is Jeremy Brazel. And of course, we're going to talk about things that make us uncomfortable, but kind of get us out of our comfort zones, hence the Discomfort Zone, so that we can actually find out what is so great about this thing that people love so much that we despise. We have to go through and actually figure it out and analyze it. And it might be a video game, a movie, a TV show, a comic book, whatever it might happen to be. We have to absorb it, and then we have to share our experiences. So this week, I'm going to go first because I've got to get this out of the way. I haven't even let you guys talk yet. You haven't even said words.
We're rushing into this.
Stop him.
No, you can't, and you won't either.
He's a steamroller right now.
So I got challenged by Sydnee to a band I already hated so much. And then I had to go back and listen to a bunch of their music. And that band is Ghost. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with Ghost,
so,
go ahead.
Real quick, to be fair, like I am not a fan of this band. Like the reason that I challenged you is because we have a mutual friend who is a fan of this band.
Yes.
And I have spent the last like year and a half trying to figure out why she loves it so much. Like she's told me, but I don't get it.
Right.
I don't hate them with the fiery passion that Paul does.
Yeah.
But that's why I challenged you.
So liking Ghost is like following Q or something like that. It's like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah. It's not something that registers with me about, especially the fandom that they have, like why these people really like it a lot. I don't really understand. So for those who aren't familiar with the band Ghost, they are a Swedish band. I shouldn't even say they are a Swedish band. It's one guy who until the last couple of years, nobody even knew what his name was. And I'm trying to remember what his name is off the top of my head now, and I can't because I hate this band so much.
You have very extensive notes. I think it's in there.
It's Tobias, I think is what his name is. So the point. So what Ghost is it's a fluff satanic band. I know it's a weird thing putting those two words together, but as soon as you hear the band, you know immediately what I mean, because they are the Nickelback of satanic bands. They're the least threatening. It's like the band tries to make Satan palatable, but they still dress like the main guy's like a pope with an inverted cross in his hat, and all the other band members are called nameless ghouls, and they all dress in black, and they have like a different gargoyle mask on. In fact, the backing band actually sued the lead guy because they were arguing that they were promised all these royalties and songwriting credits, and it never came to fruition. And he says, "No, I didn't promise you any of this." I'm not sure who to believe. I don't really care. That's neither here nor there. I have no interest in trying to make the guy sound like a scumbag. I just hate his band. And another a quick aside on this, I try very hard these days to say I don't like something or I hate something rather than saying something sucks. I don't want to say Ghost sucks because I don't think they do. In fact, I think that the musicians in the band are really good. I just don't like the music, and I have criticisms of it from. I have a music background. You can see the crap on the back of the walls. I have a music degree, and I try to analyze the music that I listen to and try to find out why I like it and why I don't like it. So I have a lot of criticisms for the band. And if you want to pause the podcast now and go listen to some Ghost, go type in Ghost. Like there are a lot of different songs you can listen to. Square Hammer is probably the biggest one. Dance Macabre. There are a lot of different songs that you can listen to that have millions of views. The thing is, what I really don't understand about it is, if you're trying to be scary, then make Satan sound scary. But they're trying to make it sound okay. For example, in the song "Square Hammer," the lines, which are horribly written lines, but "Are you on the square? Are you on the level? Are you ready to swear right here, right now, before the devil? That you're on the square. That you're on the level. That you're ready to stand right here, right now, right here, right now." And I still have, for the life of me, not figured out where I'm standing, what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm ready to swear. What am I swearing before the devil? Am I on the square? Who says that? Who has said that since 1957? Nobody. Are you on the level? It's Satan. No, he's not on the level. But they're and the thing is, like, so metalheads. So metalheads. It's interesting because I talk to metalheads and they don't. Most of the part don't like Ghost. So, but they're a metal band, kind of. And then, I don't know who their audience is supposed to be, because the music is like this weird cross between organ that doesn't sound spooky, but it's like that 60s Funhouse organ that just sounds goofy. Not far off. Like, okay, so like if you listen to like Uncle Acid. Uncle Acid uses old organs and old instruments in a really interesting, compelling way. To really sound creepy, and they are a genuinely creepy band. Like, they covered a Charles Manson song, and there's a really weird vibe when you listen to Uncle Acid. In fact, Jeremy and I went to see Uncle Acid last year, and amazing, incredible band who does everything that Ghost wants to do properly. Like Ghost, how is it that I describe the lead singer's voice? I think his vocal style is lack of effort. I think it's the best way I can describe it, because I hear him
like the most cutting remarks from Paul. I'm sorry.
It's
lack of effort. It's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I showed up.
I showed up. And then it's like, so
this
is
my band, but I showed up.
He's singing like, you're not cool enough to hear me sing. I'm just gonna, are you on the square? Are you on the level? Are you ready to swear right here, right now?
Is that the tone?
The devil. That's about the energy that he puts into it. And that's the exact melody. I know, because I had to listen to this song so freaking much. And
I
so
feel like
much so,
Skillet puts more energy into their songs.
Oh, Skillet puts way more energy into
like,
songs.
I'm a Skillet fan, and I feel like Skillet is like,
that's the thing. I went, and maybe it's the makeup, but whenever I see a video of Ghost performing, it always looks like there's not a lot of energy from the singer. Like, he'll be dancing and stuff, but like his face will be very stoic and his moves will be kind of flowy. He'll be like, "Hey, I'm singing about Satan. You want to listen up, guys?" And it's and I don't like it. And I don't like how, and there's distorted guitar, but it's not very aggressive. And like in Square Hammer is probably their most famous song. The main riff is kind of banal. It's kind of driving. The lyrics don't really go anywhere. It's referencing like it's trying to swear allegiance to Satan. This whole song is about swearing allegiance to Satan, but they can't figure out whether Satan's scary or friendly. And that's my problem. Like, if he's scary, then okay, then make your band scary. Oh, but is Satan good? Like, it's like the lead singer Tobias in interviews has talked about, like, as a young child, like his mother was very strict, and he said, "I was driven into the arms of the devil," which is a very interesting phrase to say, because that's like saying, "Oh, so Satan's friendly, but you're dressing all scary." If you want to make him friendly sounding, then be friendly. But if you're trying to be scary, then be scary.
And there are mediums that do that effectively, is the thing. Yeah. Like, there are plenty of, if you take like the TV show Lucifer, where they make Lucifer like a compelling, like kind of likable character. He's sort of a scumball, but like he's still kind of likable. You enjoy watching him.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Is like, I would like, and and people like to reference like Milton's Paradise Lost, with Satan is supposed. People say Satan is the good guy in the book. I mean, I think they're misreading what he was writing into the book, but they're saying that he was the compelling character because he's the one who actually is. And this is the line. It's not in the Bible, by the way. It's only in the book. I would rather reign in hell than serve in heaven. And so you have people who kind of like to paint the devil as this kind of interesting, compelling character, which from a Christian perspective, I'm like, you realize he's the devil, right? Like, he doesn't like you. Best case scenario, you go to hell. Like, I don't understand.
Some people try to paint him kind of like Prometheus from
right, exactly,
Greek lore, you know?
exactly.
Giving fire to the humans.
From like a
and being...
theological...
Oh, he is giving fire to the humans, but go ahead, Sydnee.
But like, I think from a theological, like, entertainment standpoint, like when you're talking about, because there's been some really smart, in my opinion, television surrounding like Christianity and theology and religion recently. Shows like The Good Place, shows like, I mean, Lucifer's not my favorite example. It's decent. They did a decent job of making the devil a compelling character. But we've seen a lot of that like just recently. And it is a neat angle to take on it, entertainment wise. It is an interesting thing to make you kind of think like, okay, well, what is the perspective of him as a fallen angel, as like somebody living that story?
Yeah.
And that's an interesting perspective to take, especially for a TV show, I think. I'm all for that in entertainment. Like, you know, that's fine.
We talked about Black Butler. And then even going back further, C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape
episode, by the way.
Yeah.
Referenced. We had a recording accident.
The Lost episode, but the show Black Butler, look it up. It's a really, really good show. We'll talk about it in some future episode. But
I think there's some interesting theological stuff there that can be done.
Yeah.
You know, if everybody's willing to be open-minded and suspend disbelief for just a second.
Because it's fiction.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like that's what they're doing. Like,
no, Ghost. I just feel like they're trying to go in two different directions at once, which makes it not interesting to me. And I don't like satanic bands, but make interesting music and, you know, at least have a theme, and I'll follow you along. Like, okay, so I mentioned Uncle Acid. Jeremy and I went to see a band called Uncle Acid, and their opening band was a band called Graveyard. Actually, it was this band, Twin Temple. Sorry, I'm going to be referring to Graveyard for the rest of the episode. I mean Twin Temple. Graveyard opened for Uncle Acid on other legs of the tour, but here in America, on the show that we saw, it was this band, Twin Temple. Sorry about that. So Graveyard is basically what Ghost would like to be. So Graveyard is a 50s doo-wop kind of sound. They have clean guitars, clean vocals, but it's like, and now we're telling you about Satan. Like, it's so goofy, I couldn't even be offended by it. Like they're doing like a Black Mass, but it's all like 50s doo-wop. Can we all get a Hail Satan? I'm like, this is the dumbest. But they were also like phenomenal musicians, like extraordinarily tight band, really good catchy songs. So I was like, okay, well, like this, it's dumb. They're not actually Satan worshipers, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, they're taking on this for shock value or whatever. Here's the thing. The thing about Ghost is I don't find them shocking. They just bore me. You know, like, I don't think that this whole Satan is for the sake of shock value really works anymore. I just
we got people biting the heads off of animals.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
Ozzy Osbourne was dangerous in 1982.
Yes.
Ghost is not dangerous. I'm sorry. And so it's dangerous for people who don't want to actually be dangerous and like listen to really extreme stuff. You know, it's pretty unchallenging, kind of fluffy material. And I had to listen to a lot of this for this. I wrote down a lot of notes on this. Metal for people who don't like metal, Satanism for people who can't stomach Satanism, macabre for people frightened of the truly macabre, offensive for the easily offended. Somehow took the least interesting parts from all their influences. Candlemass, but without the operatic vocals or all that distortion. Kiss without the flair or personality. Black Sabbath without the gravitas. Alice in Chains chorused vocals, but without taking risks in the harmonies like Alice in Chains did, and constantly thwarts my attempts to like it. Dance Macabre was one of their songs. Sounds like the softest song from a post-commercial Scorpions album, only with dumber lyrics. Just Wanna Be with you in the moonlight. I thought he was saying wanna be with you in the moonlight because he has this accent that's kind of hard to really tell sometimes. Like, does he just not know how to pronounce the word with? I'm not sure. But Just Wanna Be.
He said it's just like bewitched, but it made me think when he said it.
Oh, there you are.
Like Queen of the Stone Age is make it with you.
Yeah, right. Like you're doing it like an accented kind of thing, as opposed to no. He's saying the word bewitch because it's. Just wanna be with you in the moonlight. Just wanna be, I wanna be with you all night. Just wanna be, I wanna be with you one last time with me tonight. Just wanna be, I wanna be with you all night. He said bewitched like a billion times.
Okay. I'm gonna keep my comments to myself. Like,
you don't have to. That's why we're here.
It sounds like okay, when you just read the lyrics, it sounds like a poppy love song.
That's what it sounds like. That's what the song sounds like. This is from a later album where they were starting to take on a lot of 80s influence. They've done that in a couple recent albums. A lot of the albums kind of go through different eras of pop and rock, which is the thing. They sound more poppy than rock.
That to me sounds poppy. Like,
yeah. And I wrote down
it's like if you had like a Satanic Taylor Swift album.
That's yeah.
They had like titles like that, like Bad Moon Rising and things like that.
Yeah. My note on this was Bright Eyes called. They want the poetry they stole from a high school sophomore back. I seriously listened to this song once, and this chorus was repeated somewhere between 6 and a Googleplex times. Square Hammer, the most popular song. Promising guitar and keyboard intro reminds me of Uncle Acid. Main riff is generic and banal. Guitar parts during the chorus actually pretty compelling. I have to remind myself when I'm listening to these guys that like these are actually skilled musicians doing these songs. Like they've worked hard at the production value of it. It's just that like every keyboard note sounds kind of anemic. Like everything sounds just kind of wimpier than it should be.
It's like a typical super band, right?
Yeah, actually. That's actually exactly right. Like, I don't understand what, okay, so Ritual, the song Ritual was called one of the 50 most evil songs by Kerrang! Magazine. And they're right, it is evil because they desecrated Megadeth's Symphony of Destruction riff by putting it under lyrics that, if they weren't coming from a guy whose vocal style can be best described as Simon and Garfunkel but not so aggressive, might be terrifying, or at least threatening. As it is, it's the same recycled Marilyn Manson shock lyrics that might have shocked a grandmother or two back in the 90s, but makes most Christians roll their eyes so hard they need prayer for their strained ocular nerves. Okay. So I think I've explained thoroughly. I don't care for Ghost. It's not because they're satanic. It's because I think that they're not heavy enough for being a satanic band. They're not soft enough. If they're trying to make Satan palatable, I guess, I don't get it. But I've listened to a band that I think really typifies what a great sound, a doom sound would be, and that's the band Monolord. And the song Rust, I have been listening to this song over and over again. This song does everything Ghost does, but better. It has an organ intro with some grit and warble. A distant bell chimes ominously. It sounds genuinely spooky. It sounds apocalyptic. What Ghost would do if they hadn't found a funhouse organ to play on. And the lyrics are painful and mourning. I get a genuine sense of dread. They have lyrics like, I'll cut your throat in the night. I'll stab your back and hunt you tonight. The vocals are mixed to be reverb and distant, giving you this otherworldly vibe.
Ooh.
And here's the thing that Ghost does not do that they really need to do, that a lot of bands do. Monolord, The Sword, Wolfmother, they double track their vocals to add thickness. Because even if you have a somewhat anemic singer, once you do that, the vocals actually thicken up and stand out in the mix better. With Ghost, it's one take. And it's
even
really
Beach Boys double track their vocals.
Oh yes, and not like doing different harmonies, although there are harmonies in Rust.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
just singing the same note. Singing the same vocal line. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Pet sounds. Pretty much every song does that.
Oh, my throat's going dry.
You didn't bring your beer.
I didn't. Give me just a second. I've got to grab water, or I'm not gonna be able to talk.
Yeah, you're fine.
So Monolord is double tracking their vocals like Ghost should, layering them together. So here's the opening line from Monolord's Rust. You are the reason that I lied. You are the reason that I tried. Please don't wait until tomorrow. There's only pain, hate, greed, and sorrow. Don't ask the evil things of me. 600 years will set us free. I don't have the strength to face the horrors. Don't put your faith in thoughts you borrowed. Those are interesting lyrics. Those are taking me down a journey. They're taking me on a path. I'm getting a sense of the world that this is supposed to be taking place in. I'm getting a sense of this apocalyptic wasteland, of promises being made and broken. I'm on a journey. There's a direction, a path. I don't feel a direction when I'm listening to Ghost. It's very static. Are you on the square? Are you on the level? Are you ready to swear right here, right now before the devil that you're on the square, that you're on the level, that you're ready to stand right here, right now, right here, right now? I don't know what's going on. I'm not following it. Like, okay, what am I swearing? Who's it supposed to be talking? Is it supposed to be Satan, or what is it? So, like, I listen to all these bands. I'm trying to get... Okay, so here's the opening line from Ghost Square Ham. Living in the night, 'neath devils torn asunder, you call on me to solve a crooked rhyme. As I'm closing in and closing on your slumber, you call on me as bells begin to chime. So the song is about swearing to the devil instead of God, taking a big risk with a brand new concept here, Ghost. The problem is, lyrics wide, aside from the dumbass theology, is the song comes from the perspective of strength. So there's no horror. There's no mystery. You're coming from the perspective of the devil. You're coming from the perspective of the one I have to swear to, which automatically, if you're trying to make something frightening or scary, doesn't interest me. Because you can't start out with a position of strength in horror. It doesn't make sense. You have to start out from a point of weakness that you can then rise up to beat that strength. And that's what's happening in Monolord, where it's taking you through this, or in Rust, where you're going through this world of post-apocalypse, where you are getting the sense of dread that there's something else that's other than you, that's big, that's terrifying, that's scary. And in Ghost, there's no mystery. There's nothing. So that's probably my biggest problem with Ghost, is that they just don't have substance, I don't feel. And again, I don't want to say, I don't want to say the band sucks. If you like the band, great. Enjoy them.
Yeah.
Whatever. Buy their albums. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But I don't like them, and here is why. I have analyzed this. I've listened to a lot of it, and I thought to myself, okay, if they weren't a satanic band openly trying to be shocking, which I find boring, would I still listen to them? And no, I don't like the music. I don't like how it's performed. I don't find it compelling. It's not heavy or soft enough for me. Like, I want to listen to something soft. I'm going to listen to something soft. I'm going to listen to Billy Joel or heck, even Taylor Swift.
As somebody in the...
As somebody in...
Now that's stuck in my head. Sorry. Be in my head
you
for
build
days
the
now.
city?
Anyway, as somebody who's kind of, I'm going to call myself in the middle of this argument,
right.
because I talked to our mutual friend last night, actually. I told her we are going to talk about this band.
Right. Good.
She's excited. She's
Okay.
excited to comment. So the thing is, like, as talking to somebody who loves the band, and obviously somebody who hates the band, I am completely ambivalent. I have tried to listen to songs on their recommendation. I'm kind of with you. I wouldn't listen to it. Like, I get a couple bars in, and I'm like, nope, I'm out. And that's how I typically am with music. Like, I know in a couple seconds if I'm gonna like you or not, and that's all there is to it. It's not engaging to me. And that's why I was actually really interested to hear you kind of eviscerate it.
Yeah.
Because I don't get it. I don't understand the draw.
Right. And the thing is, I'm
I
saying
don't think they suck. I just don't get it.
right. And I, I don't just tear it apart because it's fun. I'm tearing it apart because I genuinely dislike it. I think
Tearing
it's,
stuff apart is great.
And it's fun. No.
well, I mean, like, yeah, okay, look, I love Mystery Science Theater 3000 as much as the next guy. But in being asked to analyze something that I wouldn't listen to, which is the point of Discomfort Zone, I'm glad I listened to it, except for the fact that YouTube keeps recommending me ghost videos. I just,
Sign out, dude. Sign out before you do
I
this. I'm telling you.
I know.
Tomahawk was on my freaking feed for so many days.
Yeah.
I had to listen to so much Pitbull.
I
Get rid of that.
Now we know what you like.
Not actually what I did.
I know. So
We're
look,
judging you harshly right now.
we are.
I
a
like
bit.
Pitbull.
Again, if you like, and look, if you like Ghost, if you like Pitbull, great, love it, listen to it, defend it, disagree with my arguments, that's fine, because that's what we do as adults. We listen to things and we make a judgment about something, we come up with an argument about it, and maybe there's stuff I'm not seeing. Maybe there are positives here to Ghost that I'm not seeing. Because there are bands I listen to that I would classify as not on the same level of theology as I subscribe to, but I still really like them. But I still really like, because I love great musicians. I love great music. And I can put aside a lot of the message that's coming from something and observe it as an outside observer, casual observer, and still enjoy the substance that's there.
Yeah.
Like with Graveyard, like with Uncle Acid. But I can't do it with Ghost. It's like funhouse music. It's like trying to be spooky, and it just doesn't work. So that's my Discomfort Zone. I had to listen to Ghost, and a pox on you and your family for forcing me to. Actually, no. Since we're in COVID-19, I can't say that anymore. There are certain things I can't say. I don't want to say it.
It's too soon, man. It's too soon.
Not even too soon. It's in the midst.
We're in it.
2 now.
Okay. Well, if it makes you feel any better, so I'm going to say, first off, I struggled this week with this
I figured you might.
endeavor. No, not even just that, like, even just like doing the Discomfort Zone, because of with everything going on, and like there's other weird extra stressors in life for everybody right now, and it's been a weird time to challenge yourself to do something that you really don't want to do. Jeremy and I had a lot of conversations about this week. Poor thing had to listen to me like complain about having to play this game. And meanwhile, I'm over here like, you get to watch Pagliacci. We gave you a good one.
I know.
And I was like, I don't know if this is good or not, because I don't know opera.
It doesn't matter. We both
so
want
I
to
avoided
murder you.
it too.
I know.
We both want to murder you.
You got the easy part of this Discomfort Zone this week.
You did, and he waited to the last minute, just like I did, by the way.
Okay.
He waited till like
hence why you got my
night?
text. Yeah, hence why you got my text last night.
Right.
Like, oh, I know part of this, and
Right.
I texted you that.
The most famous part of Pagliacci.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to that in a minute. So anyway, I was really pissed at Jeremy, and I was really pissed at Paul for making me play this game. Like,
so
I didn't get to the end. I played most of it. It's not that long of a game. First off, like, I want to open this up with it was like an interactive
graphic novel,
B-rated action movie.
That's fair. Okay.
That's how it felt.
What did you play? What did you have to play?
I had to play Max Payne.
Okay.
Which is a game that I've tangentially heard of and never understood why anyone would, like, no offense to fans. Like, if you like the game, fine.
Oh, I love it.
But, like, okay. Like, I understand so much more about you, Paul, and I'm judging you. This is not my area of video games. It's not the kind of video game that I would have gotten excited about. It's not a video game that I would have seen the trailer and wanted to go buy. It was $8 on PlayStation Network, and I still didn't want to pay that. Like, it's taking up room on my hard drive. Like, that's how I feel about this game. And I didn't know that much about the series because it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not a big shooter fan, first off. And I'm going to explain a little bit, because we keep coming back to that when you guys challenge me to games. We keep coming back to, like, oh, first person and shooters and horror. And those are the things that you guys have determined that I don't like. And I do want to explain, because this is not a first person shooter. It's a third person shooter. And I will, okay, first off, I will give it that in that I prefer prefer third-person shooter. If I'm gonna play a shooter game, I prefer third-person shooters. It is the only reason I managed to grind through Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus. I played that game for the story.
Ooh.
It's not terrible.
It's not great.
It's not terrible. It's not great.
It's in the middle.
They made a third-person shooter game for fans of RPGs, and we were like, we got to do this to find out the story, don't we? And
we'll play it.
Somebody has it on YouTube now, and I just watch it every now and then.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the thing is, like, it's better because the thing that bothers me about first-person games, and I understand that this is a thing that first-person gamers apparently don't get, but when you grew up on third-person games and I came from side scrollers to third-person games, and I like that setup because when you take away like my peripheral vision, I have more peripheral vision in real life than I do in a first-person shooter.
Granted, yeah, it's true.
It drives me insane. Like, and I'm gonna say, like, even as a cosplayer, like, I'm a person who wears wigs for fun. I almost did tonight, by the way. I don't know why I don't have one on. But as a cosplayer, I don't doubt it. But as a cosplayer, there's this thing that I've had to explain to people that when you have, there's a difference between like real hair and your fake hair, or your real hair and fake hair. When fake hair obscures your vision, you lose all peripheral. You know this because you've done it, Paul.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think when you wore the Link wig, I think you found out real quick.
That one hurt.
I'm sure
there's a thing about losing your peripheral vision.
Or Slash earlier
today. That too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Slash.
But there's a thing about losing peripheral vision that bothers me.
Yeah.
Probably because I have hearing issues sometimes because of my sinuses and I can't hear very well out of one direction. So like when you take away my vision, I'm just double blind and I hate it. But anyway, it just really bothers me because things can sneak up on me in games. I don't like it. It's my problem with BioShock. Being third person does make it a little easier. And I went into this game really not knowing. I didn't do a bunch of research. I was like, I thought about it. I was like, no, like, let's just play it and see how it goes. And it is like taking part in a B-rated action movie. I feel like it's like somebody like decided to take like every mob movie ever, The Bourne Identity, and like make it a B-rated graphic novel based action movie, and then you can play it.
Yeah.
And that is what Max Payne feels like.
It's Cliche Simulator 2001.
Terrible. It's so bad.
And I love it. And I love it. I feel like it's more of a commentary.
As an Italian and somebody who like appreciates like a good mob movie, like the level of Italian mob cliche in this game, just like around every corner, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And then the plot twists that are in it, like, okay, like I get what you're trying to do, guys. Like I understand, but like I would never play this game. I don't understand why you like this game. It was a run through like random rooms shooting at stuff.
Yes, that's what's
and
so
by the way,
great.
Not even like great shooting. There's not a great targeting system. It's just like literal geometry.
Hey, what you're supposed to be doing is you're supposed to jump around and slow things down.
Yes, it's bullet time. The whole game is about. If bullet time weren't in the game, it would suck.
Is kind of fun. Like the slow motion is kind of the funnest thing about it because you can like do the dive thing.
The shoot dodge.
One reason it's the classic is that was the first game that introduced a mechanic like that.
The slow motion like shots and kills are the only redeeming thing that I found out this game. And I'm be real, like I got super bored. Like I understand why people would find the story somewhat engaging, even though it's cliched to you know what and back. Try not to make Paul bleep us any more than we've already done tonight.
I have to edit so much.
We've done a lot of cursing tonight.
We have. I had listened to Ghost. I was swearing so much, and
it's not even me.
I know, it was all of us.
Anyway, but it's cliche as hell. The plot twists are plot twists that we've seen before. I feel like we've seen before. And the actual gameplay action, it's like same scenario, different room, like more shooting at
the
same nameless thugs. Like
yes, it's great. So here's the thing: if you're a fan of shooters, you're a fan of shooters, and the whole thing is the action, the adrenaline, the constant blood pumping, and it's just getting bigger weapons and having more guys chucked at you, and it getting more difficult because of that. And that's really the thing about Max Payne. I enjoy Max Payne. I enjoy the cheesiness of it because I think every now and again in life you have to have a B movie, something that you just kind of enjoy. You know, it's not smart. And if you didn't have the shoot dodges, if you didn't have the slow motion in Max Payne, it would be bargain bin. No one would have remembered it. It would never have gotten a sequel or anything. So
I mean, that was the
yeah.
most redeeming quality.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The most redeeming quality about that game. But and it tells me a lot. And I'm not doing this to rag on you, Paul. But like I'm sitting there playing this game, I'm like, this tells me a lot about Paul as a gamer. Because like I was not excited about this game. It didn't change my mind. Honestly, I'm ambivalent about it. I'm like, it feels like a bargain bin game to me. It literally does. And I'm not saying that to be mean to the game fans. It's a game that I would not pay more than $5 for. I wouldn't even pay $5 for it because I don't enjoy it. But I can't see that because, like, to me, this tells me a lot about you as a gamer. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. This is a game you go into literally it's very straightforward mechanically. It's like you're going in to shoot 'em up. And like I'm like, okay, so Paul's fantasy as a gamer is to be in a B-rated action movie.
Yeah. It's all about reaction time. It's all it is.
I would like to see you and my friend Alan, who absolutely adores these two games, like not the third one, but the first two.
The real Max Payne's?
Yeah, the real Max Payne's by Remedy. And
the fact that this has even gone
y'all
on
have a conversation. Yeah.
I mean, I would love to hear it.
Because
I don't understand it.
He adores the story, and he can get into the nitty-gritty of the symbolism and the off-kilter nature, of the entire story, how the B movie and cliche aspects plays into the surrealism that they're going for in the whole entire world.
I'm glad someone can get into that because it's not me. And I don't see this, like, I feel like this game tried real hard to like sound smart. I feel like they tried really hard to sound smart. Like they're bringing in like the Norse mythology and like all of these like incarnations of incarnations of Lucifer basically at some point, and like basically cultish Satanism and things like that. And I'm like, you're trying and it's not working.
Well, that's the thing. I think you have to look at it almost as a commentary on these things, on B movies, on noir, on action, because that's what the whole thing is. And at one point, Max Payne even acknowledges that he's in a game. He talks about how he's being controlled.
That was my favorite part, is the little break in the fourth wall where he's like, oh no, I'm in a computer game.
My actions are being controlled, slowed down. You know, it's supposed
that actually
to be
was the smartest. That was the smartest thing this game did.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a very heightened example of all of these things that it's based upon. It's trying to be the cranked to 11, to use another cliche, of all of these tropes that it's making a commentary about. And if you're into it, you're into it. It's a 15-hour game. It's one of the few games that I got very close to when it came out and completed in like a weekend. I was just like, I'm gonna play through this because this is amazing. And no cheat codes or anything, just like I have to get amazing at this. And I loved it.
I remember when cheat codes were a thing.
Well, gosh, yeah. You remember when you could look in a
you played this the way I played the early Assassin's Creed games, not the Assassin's Creed games coming out now. Like, but the early Assassin's Creed games when you could beat them in a weekend, like, because you could.
And there's a plot.
Like, that's how I basically sat down and like did that weekend. So I get it. I honestly had a little bit of this problem when we talked about Half-Life 2. Not Half-Life 2. Half-Life as well. But like,
the same.
This is my problem with shooters as a genre, okay? Like, it's the same sort of thing. You're running through basically the same environment, shooting at the same things. When I play games to be engaged with the world. I play games to be engaged with the story. And if those things are not captivating to me, and that's a very specific narrow margin for me, by the way. I'm weird. I have offloaded a lot of games because they're just not worth my time. And games are a significant time investment. And I feel like you better be real invested if you want to spend, anywhere from 15 to 200 hours.
Right.
So to me, it's all about the engagement with the story and the lore and the world and the universe and just all of these things. And these kind of games have none of that.
Well, here's the thing about, and Max Payne in particular is really good about this. I like games that keep you moving because
apparently you do.
I do. Well, because I don't want to have a game where, okay, the way I look at RPGs or in puzzle games, trying to figure out what to do next, I'm also engaged in the narrative of the story of the game.
Yeah.
And I want this forward momentum, this keeping on going to the next thing, because that's how a movie is. You're seeing these characters, and they have this argument, and then they go to this next scene, and there's something else. Whenever I'm playing like a puzzle game or an RPG or something, I feel like you have these characters, and okay, all right, let's go find the key, and then they have 2 hours of trying to solve this puzzle to get out of the room they're in before they get to the next conversation. And it drives me insane because the narrative is so broken up and trying to figure out what to do next. And it's like, okay, so I have to take this ruby. I want to like Resident Evil. Like, I love the atmosphere of Resident Evil. And I played through Resident Evil 2. It was a hard game. Not because it was hard because it was just a difficult game, even though it is. But it was hard for me because I'm like, okay, so I got to find these two
No, you don't understand.
Statues.
You like missed an entire era of gaming. The cutscene is your reward, dude. Like,
that's the thing.
Here you go for like doing the work.
No, see, that's like, okay, son, you want to watch SpongeBob? Well, you have to learn how to juggle first. You want to watch another SpongeBob? Well, you have to learn how to ride a unicycle. Like, okay, just show me the shows, and then I'll go learn these other things this other time. Like, I don't want to mix these two things up. It doesn't make any sense to me.
This is kind of interesting as a person who enjoys pretty much all of these things. Like, people who, like, oh, okay, I'm getting some insight right now. Two completely opposing philosophies on gaming.
Right.
Like, I didn't realize actually how deep this ran until, what was I trying to play? I don't remember. It came, like, I thought about it when I was playing BioShock, because if you remember when I downloaded BioShock, I accidentally ended up playing Infinite first. Don't ask, it was a weird download issue on my PS4.
Right.
So I ended up playing Infinite, and like my problem with Infinite, even though like it's kind of a pretty world, I'm like, okay, but like it just doesn't stop. Like, you just like fighting for your life the whole way through, and I'm like, when do we get to talk? Like, and there was a moment like that I've had in games like recently where I need that narrative flow. Like, I need that place where we stop at an inn and have a conversation about something that happened 20 years ago. I'm not referencing any specific game right now. Like,
I'm curious.
But
I'm curious. It's like there's a series that we've talked about before. Like, I'm not sure if it's on the show, but you can have either experience if you want it, and that would be
which game are you
Dark Souls.
Oh, we have talked about Dark Souls a little bit.
Yeah.
Boy.
In that regard, you can actually.
I have not geared myself up to play Dark Souls, but I'm real tempted at this point.
You can actually go into that game and push through, and it's just constant movement, constant action. Or you can just absorb the world around you, and you can slow it down whenever you want.
I feel like Paul and I both need to play Dark Souls at the same time. We're gonna get our butts kicked. I'm gonna be real.
Gosh,
it's a terrible game. Like, it's super. I am not good enough for this game.
Legendarily difficult.
But I feel like you and I should play Dark Souls at the same time.
It's difficult, but one reason people like it so much is it's difficult but fair.
I keep hearing this phrase.
If you learn your lesson, you can overcome your mistake.
Okay.
So, okay, here's what I like. I'm going to go off on a little tangent because I have not played Dark Souls, but I know enough about it to be able to say this. I've got to give props to any series that actually makes a difficult game anymore, because I have a real problem with how easy games have gotten. And I'm not talking about like, oh, you can change the difficulty level, because Jeremy knows I've been playing Dishonored this week.
Yeah.
But and I'm playing it on like normal. I'm not in easy, I'm not hard.
Right.
Mostly because I don't play first person games. Anyway, but the thing about like so many games now have made it ridiculously simplistic to get through the game. Like, I mean, to the point of like, I'm a Fable fan. I love Fable. Like, but there's a glowing trail of light showing me where to go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, like that's a wonderful
I can't
thing
get lost.
about the level design of Dark Souls is the fact that you can run around, get lost if you want to, but it's built in a way that even if you get lost, it guides you right back onto the trail.
Round you back around. Yeah. Now, okay, like there's actually a story. I got lost one time, like legitimately lost on the world map of a Final Fantasy game. Like I could not figure out where I was. I had to go consult the internet.
Yeah.
Like I loaded
That's
a save
amazing.
game. I'm like, where am I? Like,
That's
but like
amazing.
that doesn't happen in video games anymore. I'm not proud of that fact, but that doesn't happen. I don't get lost in games.
Yeah. Well, I think that part of it is that they want people to have a more cinematic experience, I guess. I don't understand this whole
It's a streamline.
trying to marry the two different mediums.
I think it's more of a flaw of worrying that if you make it too difficult, you're going to lose part of your fan base. I really do. I think that's a concern.
True because video games are more mainstream today than they ever have before. And I think that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
But it also leads to decisions that, the normal person won't like certain things, which I think have been disproven time and time again by the popularity of things like Dark Souls, popularity of Breath of the Wild. That just tells you, go.
Yeah, Cuphead has sold 2 million, 3 million copies already, and that is an intensely difficult game. But I like games, you mentioned choose your own difficulty, but there's a way to do it that doesn't seem like choosing your own difficulty. Let's go back to Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 3, where you can warp. You can warp if you want to. You can get the whistles in Mario 3, or you can use the pipes in Super Mario. Different worlds if you want to. Or you can slog your way through all of them and get the rewards of going through all these cool levels, all this cool stuff. And you have these two different games.
Were you the completionist, or were you just like, I want a challenge and I want to go?
I want to go all the way through. I want to get to Bowser, and just that's where I want to be. You know, because you can go like
Mario World
all the way to the end.
The Star Road.
So if we're having this conversation, like, and we have a second, like, I'll bring this up too. So, Jeremy, was it you? I know I talked to you a little bit this week when we were talking about playing Dishonored. I don't remember if I had this conversation with you or somebody else though. So I was playing through Dishonored. It's been a hot minute. I used to be really pretty decent at this game, actually. And I put it down for like 2 years and I haven't touched it. But given what's going on in the world, I felt like a game about a plague ravaging a city sounded like, timely. So I started playing Dishonored. And the thing about Dishonored is, like, yes, you can choose your own difficulty, but also the game has a strange mechanic where it adjusts the world to you that actually makes it more or less difficult.
Yeah, you were talking to me about it.
Yeah, okay, it was you I was talking about. Okay. So, Paul, I don't know. Paul, did you play Dishonored?
Yeah, I did. I actually owned it. It's funny because the mechanic you mentioned was pioneered in Max Payne.
But I love it in Dishonored. Like, I don't,
Hey. Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
It's not a shooter, so.
It's not a shooter.
It's kind of a shooter, sort of RPG.
But the mechanic that I'm talking about is the fact that, like, the fewer people you kill, the actually easier the game is. Like, yes, the better the outcome is, but the easier the game is.
Right.
Now I'm trying to do a non-lethal run right now, and doing a non-lethal run is not easy, but it makes for significantly less difficult combat later in the game.
Right.
which like I just don't feel like being eaten by rats. So
Yeah, the whole rat plague thing in Dishonored is fun.
I love it.
Undertale does that too, by the way.
Yeah.
You can do a pacifist run, and it makes the game, when you get to the end, it's hard at first. Like, you die a significant
but it makes
amount.
the game overall easier as you go through.
Yes. And you feel better about yourself,
better
too.
Outcome. Like, you also get a better outcome.
You do. You do get a lot better outcome. So Max Payne was not up your alley, and even playing through it, you're still having difficulty seeing what it is that someone like me really loves about it.
I'm just ambivalent towards it. Like,
that's fine.
It's not interesting. It's not. I get where you're coming from because, like I said, this tells me a lot about you as a gamer. You are very like, I just want to go into all the action.
Well, look, I mean, you see that. Look, I just want a game where I can just go in. The control scheme is fairly simple and straightforward. I can be in that world immediately, blast through it, because I just want to experience.
Jeremy, I know who Paul is on the zombie apocalypse team. I'm just saying.
We're gonna give him the boomstick.
I'm just gonna give you,
Give me the boomstick.
exactly, exactly.
Because I'm gonna be like, was he even a zombie? I'm like, are you gonna take the chance? Bang! Like, just.
While I was playing Sea of Thieves today, you're going to be the guy. I'll be making the barricades because in Sea of Thieves today, I was just going around the ship the whole time, banging up boards, making sure all the holes and getting the bucket.
Jeremy will be
out
fortressifying the base.
Right.
Paul will be going with the boomstick, and I'm like climbing in a rafter somewhere. Like, I'm gonna get a bird's eye view. I'll let you know what's going on.
Right.
Like,
Right.
This is the Assassin's Creed coming out right there.
Right.
I do
Pointing
that
out
with
the
Dishonored
zombies.
too, honestly.
Just give me
I do
a
that in Dishonored
chainsaw.
too.
It's fun. Okay.
True that.
Sorry.
All right.
That was a long tangent.
No worries.
All right.
No, it's a good one because it's all pertinent. You know, talking about Max Payne, talking about kind of the things that it pioneered that we're talking about in other games, and then
glad it pioneered them. I'm just not a convert.
Well, yeah, you can appreciate things that a game did for the industry without liking the game itself, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
People do that with music. Like, they like all.
And I'm never gonna be one of those people. I'm kind of like you are with the music. Like, I'm never gonna say a game sucks. Like,
right.
And I think we've gotten really bad about that as a culture. About oh, you like this, especially with AAA games for some reason. I'm like, look, if it's a AAA game, it tells me that it's decent, and you've done half the work for me. I don't have to go vet it.
It's like a Marvel movie. It's gonna be enjoyable.
And probably going to have loot boxes and.
Well, these days, sadly, and having this conversation after 2016 is tough.
But the thing is that, like, there's a lot of like, oh, that game sucks. But, like, look, if you like shooters, go like shooters. That's fine. Yeah. I'll send you in with the firing squad when we're in the zombie apocalypse. That's fine.
Everybody has to have their role.
Hi, Pup.
All right, so I listened to Ghost. Sydney listened to Max Payne. And Jeremy, you got the good assignment this week.
He got the great assignment.
Because it's something that
I
both
love
Sydney and I
both
like.
Of y'all. Both of y'all was like, man, I'm so jealous of you, and you don't even know if I like it or not.
I want to know.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Because if you don't, we can't be friends anymore.
Y'all,
we're gonna have to just get rid of your little square there at the bottom.
Okay, so y'all challenged me this week, like something both of y'all like, but I'm pretty unfamiliar with. It's opera. So y'all challenged me to Pagliacci. Is that how you pronounce it?
Pagliacci.
Yes.
Pagliacci.
He was close.
All right.
Yeah. But hey, we have to be exact because we may be casual, but we are fanatics.
Sure.
Exactly, right? So it's an opera about a troupe of clowns. And there's inspirations in a lot of media today that came from this specific opera. Like, I sent y'all, like, as soon as I heard that, it's like the iconic part is like, I've heard this before. This was in The Simpsons. And I sent y'all the exact clip. And it was like, they were in Italy and everything for it, But all I got to say is that first 20 minutes was an incredible slog. The music to me was incredibly boring. And then the story wasn't moving at all. It's like you had your little introduction where I don't know what the introduction was really about, where they come out on stage and are putting on a show, which I like that, but it went on for about several minutes. And then we go and we're outside of the troupe, and you see all the clowns get together and they put on a show for the audience, and it's like, okay, I'm getting the idea. Then finally this husband, as well as it was rather unclear as who I was supposed to be paying attention to, because one of the clowns, he's the main singer for that introduction thing, and he's part of the focus during the next scene as well. And then after that scene, we get a scene with, at first I didn't really know who it was, but it was a woman. It's like, is she a part of the troupe? Oh, okay, it's that guy's wife over there. I started putting things together. And as soon as her scene initially ended, then she got like attacked by one of the husband's lackeys. That's where it turned interesting, right after that, where she meets up with her lover and she's cheating on her husband.
In an opera?
Like, okay. Right? Oh my goodness. I can't believe, actually, I don't know how opera stories go.
So here's the thing.
Standard.
Well, okay, I'm gonna interject for a second because I challenged you to this opera, and it was your suggestion because you are not real familiar with opera.
Right.
We did not want to give you a bad opera because it's the diehard way to ruin opera for anybody is give them a bad first opera. Here's the thing about opera. Operatic stories are very simplistic. You can usually see them with subtitles, but like honestly, you could probably figure out what's going on in most of them without them.
I didn't do any subtitles because you said that, so I was like, I'm ready to see if I can.
You can generally figure out what's going on. Now, it is sometimes nice to know. A friend of mine summed it up pretty well. It doesn't exactly hold true, but basically, in all comedy operas, everybody gets married at the end. In all tragedies, everybody dies. Like, I feel like the exception to this is Man of La Mancha, where both happen. Like it's hilarious.
Or
he dies
does
at the end.
it? You know,
I
it's
don't
all
know.
in his head. You don't know.
I mean, who knows? I love that show though. But the thing that it is they do tend to be slow set. Paul, you can interject if you need to.
Yeah.
But I feel like most operas tend to be slow setups. They're 3 to 4 acts.
Yeah.
The opening acts are giving you insight that unfortunately is sometimes a little bit of a slog, but it's insight that you kind of need later.
It's like the beginning of a soap opera where you're saying, this is this character, this is this character, this is this person, this is the relationship.
That introduction didn't give me anything. It was just, you had several minutes, like a couple minutes of just music, no singing. Then the first clown comes out. And so he comes out, the first clown starts singing. And I'm thinking, okay, this guy's the main character. He ends up being an extreme side character. And like his only part at the ending was handing the husband the knife.
So
but
let
me go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let me go ahead and give you more of like that first 20 minutes was a major slog. And I felt like the play overall could have been 10 minutes shorter than it actually was. And I would have gotten the same exact. I'm usually not one about saying something could be shorter. I'm a person who, like, if you can make it longer and give me more information without it making it feel like a slog,
so
I'm all for it.
This is a theory on my part, but I think it's probably true. A lot of stuff from before like 1960, we'll say, was slow paced because people came in late. So you had to have a lot of setup. It's why you have movies like, you take a look at movies from the 1960s where there's a lot of setup, but
first act will be very long,
right. But then the climax will happen, and it ends like right after, like it's done. You watch a really good example of this is North by Northwest, the Hitchcock movie, where Cary Grant saves the woman from the cliffside, and then that's it. They're married, and it's done. The movie's over. Like you have these movies, and there's all this setup, and it's because people just kind of come in whenever. Because it was much more of a social thing, especially for plays and opera.
They're coming to the theater.
Well,
people are getting dressed up. They're coming in
you're
late.
being seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, let me go on.
Also, well,
about
let me interject before you go on. Also, while you can while you can generally get the gist of most operas without the subtitles, you probably would have gleaned a lot more information had you had subtitles. Because a lot of times in those opening songs, what will be revealed are little details about different characters, and there's a lot of informational stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like, apparently with that intro, I did go back and read what it was all about. That intro was about, hey, everybody up here, we might be actors, but we're also people too. And that was the gist of the intro.
Right.
And then you go into the actual story, and you start getting the troupe, and it's like, okay, I'm getting introduced to the characters, but it still confused me about who the main character was until I understood, okay, this is the wife. And then you get into the romance scene, and it's like, okay, this song is compelling me. And the emotion completely shifted from this whimsical thing where it's like you had this clown troupe, and then you had this marriage happen, and it flips on its head at that point. And you're feeling this tension build up. And then the husband and his lackey come back, and he catches her, and they get into this long drawn out fight, and you start seeing the emotion he has and the breakdown that he begins having. And you get the iconic moment, the iconic scene, and he's like putting the paint on his face and is making you think, man, like, this is probably an inspiration for the movie The Joker and things like that. And it had much more of an impact at that point than it had earlier on. So it's like, well, I would have shortened the beginning part. I got pulled in really quickly at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
one thing is also, and this is just a thing you see a lot in Shakespeare, where you have an introduction from a character who is totally a side character that is not a central character to the plot at all. And you think about Romeo and Juliet, it opens up the person who introduces they're not a Montague or a Capulet. They have very little to do with the story.
Midsummer Night's Dream as well.
Midsummer Night's Dream is like that as well. And that happens in opera. You have a character that is very slightly related to what's going on, but they're talking about an outside observer because they're supposed to be kind of you. They're the observer, like you would be in that situation where you got to watch all these things unfold and you got to see the results of it.
Well, that's definitely not my main complaint. I've seen that many times before. The main complaint is it didn't go anywhere for the first 20 minutes.
Well,
like I got all the information that they put out in that first 10 minutes.
Hey, look, even great things are flawed.
Yeah, no, I was like, I'm not that.
Go ahead.
From the point forward, after I understood like where it was going, and you got the emotional climax with the I guess the husband, and I didn't gather any of the names as you see, and he's putting the makeup on because he's normally not one of the clowns. And then we go back to the wife, and we start getting this the climax set up where they go and they're starting to put on another show, and the wife is up on stage doing her thing, and the clowns are being all whimsical, and then all of a sudden the husband shows up, and she's like, he's not supposed to be here right now. He's not a clown. He's not supposed to be on stage. What the is going on?
Mm-hmm.
The tension from there starts beginning to grow and grow until, bam, hands the knife, and bam, not to spoil anything, but
The opera is several hundred years old, I think.
right?
I
Well,
have
not
the date. Hang on.
1898, I think it was.
1890. Yeah.
1890. Yeah. So yeah, we're at 128
So,
years here. So
so you had a simple story, and like other than the slog at the beginning, I really got pulled in later into
yeah,
the story, and
That's going to be
I
pretty
felt
standard with
it's like
opera.
it's the emotion that was put in it. It's like it's just interesting to be able to see like, oh man, he's kind of being this jerk guy, and how it's like he's saying like ha ha ha, being all, and then seeing him emotionally turn into this like his mind breaking down, and you can just hear in every vocal line the different emotions coming out, and that was an interesting transformation because like singing and changing your vocal emotion, like most people when they're singing, yeah, they have emotion in it, but it's not like you can tell, oh, at this point he's going insane, and at this point he's crying, and at this point he's just being a jerk.
right.
Singing and
Beauty of
acting is
opera
very
vocals.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, right, you're right. I mean, you have these guys who are writing for virtuosos, like, and writing specifically to take advantage of what a virtuosic talent would be. And it's fascinating from a technical standpoint. That's why I really have appreciation for opera, because that is the pinnacle of difficult singing.
It
Is
is.
Yeah.
opera. Because you have not only do you have to sustain it for like 3 hours, you know,
Right.
with just an endurance standpoint, but you have to do the recitative where it is acting but singing, and then you have actual song where you are singing but you're still emoting as this character. It's harder than a musical where you get to talk, because the
And they
recitative is
don't
much
get to,
harder.
they really don't get to talk.
Yeah.
Pretty much, generally in opera, everything is sung.
Even laughter
Even-
is sung.
Yeah. Try singing
And
laughter.
that's really, that's kind of, Paul, you
Exactly.
can correct me on this if I'm wrong, because you probably know better than I do. But like my understanding of the difference between a musical and an opera is that there are really no speaking parts.
That's as far as I can tell. The actual difference, the recitative in an opera is sing talking. It's like, okay, for the average person, we've probably all of us at some point have gone to see Handel's The Messiah. Handel's Messiah is very much handled like an opera, in terms of how it's not in terms of how it's visually presented. You know, there's nobody on stage doing any acting. There's no set dressing, but how you're taking it in audially, where you have these parts that are, and then the Lord, he said, we will come unto the mountain. You know, in a musical, that would just be some guy saying, hey, and then the Lord said we're going to come to the mountain and stuff.
They would stop and they would speak.
Yeah, you would have a
And
scene.
You don't do that in opera.
No. And the musical is very much, and which is why I can't stand musicals, because in opera, I'm like, okay, in this world, everybody sings.
Everyone sings.
I get it. In the musical, like, so you're having a conversation, and
we're
then
gonna break into a song and dance number. Like,
and strangers know the choreography. Like, that's bullcrap. I'm sorry.
I have a question about opera as well. One thing I noticed, particularly at the beginning, there is typically no really any repeated ideas. There was very little motif until that emotional high point. You got that high point at the beginning, and then you got that same note pattern or riff, if you want to call it that, at the end of the opera.
Right.
But other than that, you don't really have any repeated ideas.
Well,
I think,
Is that typical?
Paul, you can commentate on that.
well, in the beginning of every opera, you have the oh gosh, I completely forgot the name of it now. But there's the overture. There's the overture in the beginning of an opera where they go through the musical ideas before they get to the opera, kind of giving you a musical preview of the various
Basically,
melodies
the whole
that you
show,
hear.
yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
as opposed to giving you like a plot synopsis at the beginning, they're giving you a musical synopsis at the beginning. And I don't know if that's necessarily typical to not use a lot of repeated ideas. That can be down to the composer.
That's probably more of a composer thing, is what I was going to say.
Because you think about Carmen, like in Carmen, you hear a lot of the same melodies coming
Very
for each
repetitive.
character, very repetitive. So
Okay.
that may just be
I
down
wasn't
to
sure. Yeah.
right.
And I will say on the music, because you did kind of make a commentary on the early music until you got to the real iconic parts.
Mhm.
This is why, and Paul knows this about me. I'm pretty much there are two kinds of opera fans. There are Puccini fans, and then there's everybody else. I am a Puccini fan, and the only composer that Puccini fans think is relevant is Puccini. I didn't start out that way. I was told this when I first broke into opera, and everyone's like, "Oh, nothing's good." Like, not everyone, the Puccini people
right.
are like, "Nothing is good except Puccini." I'm like, "Hey, sorry."
Puck, you have
Puck's
no
not a
say in
Puccini
this.
fan.
He's not. He's like, I heard the word pooch. Is there a dog around?
Well, okay, so Puck's full name is Puccini.
Oh,
Also,
that's
so
right.
he's
You're
probably
right.
very confused.
I was thinking it was the Midsummer Night's Dream thing. I thought it was named after Puck, the pixie.
There's a story I'll share another night, but his
Fair
full
enough.
name is Puccini, and nobody would level with calling him by his full name.
Right.
But anyway, so the thing about Puccini fans is they will tell you when you first get into opera, oh, the only good opera is Puccini, which is not necessarily true. But according to us, the only decent opera is Puccini. And unfortunately, they have been proven right. And now I am one of them. They've been proven right over the course of the more opera I've been exposed to. I come back to Puccini.
I'm a fan of Baroque opera, but then I'm a fan of the Baroque in general. So I'm not really one that really has a dog in this fight because once you get to the Romantic era, I'm lost anyway. So
yeah.
What's funny is I'm much more of a Romantic era, even though this was a romantic opera. But yeah, I've always been one that prefers like a more musical motifs, something that pulls a piece together that you hear ideas. Like that's one reason I love The Wall so much.
Right.
Is you have these very disparaging songs, but you keep having very similar motifs throughout the entire album.
Yeah, rock opera is its own thing.
Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say rock opera is its own interesting beast in that
kind of
sense.
side genre.
Yeah. I kind of accidentally chose a rock opera there. It just happened to be one of my favorite.
But the thing is, I think, and the reason that I bring up Puccini is not to annoy Paul. The reason I bring up Puccini, and my cat's looking at me strangely, I only call him that when he's in trouble too. So is that I think you would have gotten more of that from a Puccini opera. The musical ideas tend to be very concise. That's what Puccini is loved for is his music. It is his composing. I mean, yeah, he's a great storyteller. The stories are still very simplistic, but it's the composing that really makes a Puccini opera. And there is the reason that Puccini fans are such diehards is there is an emotionality that comes out of his music that we don't see so thoroughly in other opera. I mean, there are people who love Carmen, and the music from Carmen doesn't really do that much for me, Verde. Like I'm not.
I think that people latch on to. I think popular culture is very capricious about what it latches onto from music. Like with Bach, I think it's interesting that Bach's most famous melodies may not have actually been composed by Bach. We think about Toccata and Fugue in D minor. It may not actually be a Bach piece, which is, I find fascinating. You have to kind of get into things like Air and a G string before you get to like stuff that we know that Bach actually wrote. So I think people are very capricious about what is chosen from certain
specific
operas. And Carmen, it has a da dun da da dun dun da. It's very pointed and it's very grabby. It's very earwormy, which I feel like it's like in 100 years we're gonna look back and like, oh, well, everybody listened to Nickelback because it got stuck in your head.
Unfortunately, go ahead.
If you look back at like the bands that stick around, it's pretty much never a band that was one of the top bands of their time.
Right.
It's like interesting. Jimi Hendrix was never considered a number one act.
Well, he never had a number 60s. One album.
Never did.
Clearwater Revival never had a number one album. Janis Joplin never had a number one album.
All of these, like we think of classic rock and we think, man, that was such a good era. It's because we forgot about all the acts that were actually the top acts of that time.
Yeah. Forgot about Herman's Hermits.
I'm going to reference a really old conversation that Paul and I had. years ago when we were talking about, it may come up here at some point, but which is, we were talking about, I think, The Godfather.
Yeah.
And you were like, you don't watch The Godfather with popcorn on a Friday night.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, but it's not the movie you watch all the time.
Right. We have those things that we take in, and we're going to have this conversation at some point, because I still can't figure out why we say the greatest thing is not the thing that made the most money, because it
or the
should
thing that
be.
Was watched, listened to, done the most.
The most.
It's never that thing.
I mean, why is it that Gone with the Wind is a good movie? I like it. It's not as good as The Godfather. It's not as good as Citizen Kane. It's not as compelling. I don't think.
Money.
It made more money. It's made more money than anything. It's $500 million ahead of Avatar, which is the next most, given inflation. And I think I think Avengers is like number 5 when you adjust for inflation. In the top 10 movies of all time, I think the only one that's really like sit down popcorn watchable is Star Wars, which made all the money. That's like still number 3 or 4, I think, in the top grossing movies of all time, adjusted for inflation. So for some reason, we as humans have decided that we're going to hold these certain things up on a pedestal that made no money. We all love Mad Max Fury Road. It only made $390 million. But for some reason, movies like Transformers 4, which nobody likes, or at least nobody says they like, made $1 billion. I cannot figure it out.
And we have the same thing, to circle this conversation back around. We have the same thing in opera. I borrowed a book from Paul ages ago about the great operatic composers. I literally just read the Puccini section and returned it to him.
I know. I saw this. Like, it's all thumbed through in this one little portion.
But the point that I make by bringing that up is that even most of the great opera composers that we have now were not popular in their time. A lot of them were flat out hated or failures.
Right.
The operas that we consider the best and great are typically ones that either got shut down for being too
risque.
Yeah, basically. Or just too out of the box for the time.
Political.
So, I hope that doesn't happen with Dead Man Walking, because that's a terrible opera, but like, that's the opera I didn't want to make you watch, Jeremy. But anyway, my point is that, like, it's the same thing. There are some quirky opera things. I mean, I've sat through a lot of operas that I will flat out say that was a slog. And some of them are long. I think the longest one I've ever sat through was like 4+ hours.
Oh, goodness.
It's a long opera.
Yeah, this was a lot shorter than I expected. It was only about an hour and 10 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, a lot of this was
it wasn't a bad watch at all.
Pop. I mean, again, a lot of this was like, this would have been the Transformers 4 of its time. It's what you put out, people go see it, and they enjoy it, and they go home. And it's
interestingly enough, I guess the guy who actually did it, this was his only major opera that he ever put out. It's definitely one of the most. Yeah, he's the modern. He was the one-hit wonder of the time.
Yeah.
But
this is his Call Me Maybe.
I do want to go back to a point that you started.
I just compare Pagliacci to Call Me Maybe.
We're talking about pop. But anyway, go ahead, Jeremy.
One-hit wonder, how bizarre? How bizarre. That was another one-hit wonder right there. But,
go ahead.
We can do the Macarena too. That was another one.
Make your point. I do want to stop naming things.
Well, given this, are you more open-minded to opera now?
Here's what I wanted to get into actually before I started making jokes about different one-hit wonders to compare Pagliacci to, but Paul started talking about it a little bit earlier. Let's talk about this social event around the opera, and I don't think I would have had the slog of that first 20 minutes if I was there and got to experience the spectacle. Mm-hmm. So a live opera, that's definitely the way this medium is meant to be consumed.
It is.
There. To be able to watch it and hear the music swelling, because I'm back in my room. It's like, I don't want to wake up my roommate. Actually, he was awake still too, but I don't want to bother him people around me, people below me, so volume down. So it's not the ideal way to consume this medium. So would I watch it again back in my room? No, but if I had a chance to see it live, I would buy a ticket immediately.
See, and the sad thing about this is, like, we legit could have done this like 2 weeks ago if what's going on was not going on.
We could have actually gone to
so we
see
may
it or
have to
something.
plan to go see. I just heard what next season is. I'll get the card out and let you guys know. We may actually have planned to go see one live because, like, and Paul's been to live operas, and I've been going to live operas since I was 21. And it is it's an event. Even today, like, I'm not even talking 100 years ago. Even today, like, it is a full-blown, it's your entire evening.
That's what I want out of it, It's like the
Yeah.
way of, like, I want the spectacle of it,
So
That's
dressed
what
up.
I want out of it.
So
Exactly.
I'll kind of walk you through the idea. So, like, when I go to an opera, like, let's just take me getting ready out of the equation, because that's an additional 4 hours that nobody needs to hear about. But it is a thing that you're getting dressed up. It's generally speaking relatively formal. I will say the opera in Pensacola is the only place you can go and see pajama pants and a ball gown at the same time.
It's true.
It's true. But like, generally it's a dress up event. There's usually a 20 to 40 minute, like, pre-event party. There's everyone's socializing in the lobby,
Drinking alcohol,
and
ideally
alcohol. Hopefully, if you do it right and you pay for, like, the VIP gig here, intermission actually I think they've opened it up to the general public anyway now. Used to be a VIP deal. But intermissions are like 20 minutes long. You go back to, like, the lounge room, you eat snacks, you get a drink. Like, it's an entire ordeal. And you go to be seen, talk to people, and see a show. And I mean, generally speaking, like, you better eat because you're going to be there till, like, midnight.
Yeah, that's true.
A question about, seeing it live. It's like, how are the intermissions done? Is it in between each act, or is it? Okay, just curious, because they seem to have more acts than the typical play.
Most are 3 to 4. Usually you don't get more than 3-ish major intermissions. And that does give them time to go and set dress and move set pieces that are bigger than they can do behind the scenes.
Right.
So it's all intentional.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they're structured in the way they are.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you have to give people that break, not just for the sake of people being able to go stretch their legs, but because, well, it's not a movie. We can't just cut and go to the next thing. We gotta move all this crap, and people don't want to see that. Like, you have to go out, So
No, I would definitely want to do the live thing.
We'll have to plan to do that.
It changes your perspective.
The comparison I was thinking of before that was like Tool. I don't really care for listening Tool at my house.
Yeah.
But when I get a chance to see them live, it's an experience. It's crazy what they do. Their shows are amazing.
They're amazing, and they're amazing musicians. They're insane.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a very a good thing to point out, that there are things that we can take in that don't make sense in a single solitary context, or at least on records or CDs or whatever. Kiss is something like, I don't want to listen to Kiss. I like to watch Kiss.
It's
Kiss would be great to see. There's makeup and fire. It's fun, and the songs take on a different energy. Okay, the band The Sword, they're not their last album, but the album before that, High Country. Listening to it in my car, not a good album. Not a great album. Saw them live. Killer live. Killer album live. Made perfect sense live. I don't know what happened between the recording studio and that stage where suddenly the song sounded great on the stage, but that's what happened. So sometimes you just have to see things in that context, because it doesn't make any sense.
And it is I will agree with Jeremy. It's a very contextual medium. I'm okay. So I'm a little bit of a weird opera fan in this. Paul will probably agree with me on this. So most diehard opera fans, like, which is generally speaking an older generation than us. I'm just gonna say it's a different demographic. But like love listening to opera music. We have an event here that the entire charity event is around the artist singing songs at your table, which is a grand idea. And people love this event. I have never gotten into it. I don't like opera music out of context, with very few exceptions. I don't look, I have opera vinyls that were my grandmother's. Okay. I don't listen to them. I own them. I don't listen to them. I've never gotten there. To me, it's always been about the set, the costumes, the acting. Like it's an all-encompassing art form. It like they do everything.
Think about it this way. If
that's
you were
part of it.
Right. If you were at that dinner and if they said, okay, tonight we're going to have people come up to you and recite lines from Simpsons episodes. They're just going to come up to you and say, okay, here's a guy who's doing a Sideshow Bob impression, and he just does some lines and then walks away. It's like, okay.
I'd be so
this
into
is a
that.
charity event for 20 years from now.
Right?
I would be so into that.
And that's the thing.
I might just throw I would throw a COVID-19 event for, all the people right now.
Yeah.
Give it all the money for a charity.
But that's what it would be like. It would be, and if you're into that, it sounds amazing. Like, yeah, I'd love to have like Dan Castellaneta come up and do lines of Homer Simpson. That'd be amazing. But I have to agree with Sydnee. I want to see something in its context. Like, I don't like best of albums. Like, I want to hear that song next to the songs it was written to be next to in its original context. And same with opera. Like, I don't want to hear the main song from Carmen. I don't want to hear that just playing it.
Look, if I could have sent you to a live show, I'd have literally given you a ticket, but I can't right now.
Yeah.
It's like I see a lot of memes out there, and I read, it's like particularly the Simpsons memes and the Futurama memes, and they change, like they take the image and they change what they say, and it completely changes the spirit of what was said in that scene. And I do hate that. So I get where you're coming from, like in the context of memes. So it's like, well, I like the idea of just saying Simpsons quotes.
Yeah, it can be funny.
If you don't know Simpsons, you're not going to understand the context of what they're saying, and it's
like this is a future charity event.
Yeah, actually, it would be a lot of fun. But the problem with doing it with opera is that the entirety of the opera is an emotional event where you are being taken on a journey, and which is why I don't like best of albums and taking songs out of the context, because you're being taken on this journey from A to B. So when you hear this piece of music in its original context, you're at a certain point in that journey emotionally, whether it's joy or sadness or whatever it happens to be. And then to just hear that song and to try to enjoy it without anything else of the rest of what's supposed to be happening around it, to me, doesn't make any sense.
I've never been able to do it.
Here we go. Yeah, like what's interesting about that is, I sent you that little Simpsons clip, and all they had in that Simpsons clip was that big emotional point song. Yeah, exactly. That part right there. And it didn't make any impact on me whatsoever. And then within context of the actual play, I understood the emotional part of it. And if you don't have that buildup of the story, it just doesn't have any impact.
Right.
So this goes into another topic that we have on the list to cover one day, Paul, and that's the are references valid if you don't know the source material?
Yeah, and we'll have to get into that.
That goes into the memes idea too. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, there, ladies and gentlemen, is our discomfort zone. Those were the things that we found uncomfortable that we had to take in. They were outside of our scope of knowledge or just something we didn't like. And we had to try to figure out why people like it. I had to figure out Ghost. Sydnee had to figure out Max Payne. And Jeremy had to figure out Pagliacci. did you like what we said about these things? Do you agree with it, disagree with it? Again, we're trying to find out about these things, not rag on them. I want to know why people like Ghosts. Sydnee wants to know why people like Max Payne, and Jeremy wants to know why people like Pagliacci. That's the whole point of this Discomfort Zone. We're going to challenge each other to more stuff next week. Or whenever this comes out, because we're in COVID-19 insanity. So maybe tomorrow if we decide
Might be tomorrow.
It might be tomorrow. Who knows?
We have all this free time now.
That's right. You don't know what time it is. We don't have any windows in here, so we're all in closets. So until next time, I am Paul Stadden. That's Sydnee Johnson. That's Jeremy Brazell. We are the Casual Fanatics, and this has been the Discomfort Zone. Staying comfortable.
Toodaloo.
Ciao.